Welcome into NHL Tonight First Shift. Getting you ready for Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Final here in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. The Edmonton Oilers hosting the Florida Panthers. The rematch from last season. Panthers winning in 7 last year. Oilers jumping out to a 1-0 series lead with an overtime win courtesy of a goal by Leon Draisaitl. Welcome into Rogers Place, everybody. EJ Radic alongside Brian Boyle, and boy, we had a very entertaining Game 1, right deep into overtime.
Wasn't that something? We had everything. Lead changes, physicality.
You like that physicality.
I don't hate it.
No,
especially at this time of year.
And it's even better for you because you can just watch it. You don't have to feel the pain.
It doesn't hurt as much.
It's
you get to watch it.
How do you like Evander Kane going in there and kind of rough everybody up all the time?
Listen, that was, and Florida didn't stop trying to play physical. They didn't back down.
No,
but nobody's answered the bell against Florida quite like Edmonton's done. And it has to be because they took a page out of what Florida did last year. They knew what to expect. They learned a lesson, and they've implemented, especially through these playoffs.
Yeah, Kane healthy, right. Trent Frederick in there. Jake Wallman is a big, thick guy, too. I mean, they're just bigger throughout their lineup right now. So Edmonton wins Game 1. They get it done in overtime on the power play. Draisaitl from McDavid and Perry. Great play by Ryan Nugent-Hopkins as well. We'll talk about that in a bit. But let's get to first things first because we have some news here in the Great White North. But this news is from the Great South. Dallas, Texas. You can see here the Dallas Stars general manager Jim Nill announced today Pete DeBoer has been relieved of his head coaching duties. And this has been a topic of conversation ever since the Stars lost to the Oilers. The, I guess, controversial decision to pull Jake Ottinger early in that game, and then the subsequent comments about it, and then the subsequent follow-up to those comments about it. And I would imagine Jim Nill thought long and hard about it and likely talked to all of the players, and in the end felt this is the best way to go. So what's your reaction to this? Because it's the guy that's been wildly successful.
Right. So I think Pete DeBoer is a very, very good hockey coach.
Yeah.
There's different things that a coach would look at with the player or his own team. How did you lose is sometimes more important than if that you lost, right? There's different ways you can lose where you're right there, you're close. If I'm Jim Nill, I'm looking at how did we lose this series. I don't think prior to the Western Conference Final, Pete DeBoer was at risk of losing his job.
I don't either.
I didn't think his job security depended on him winning and getting to the Cup Final. He's had good success there, obviously not ultimate success, but when you do things a certain way with the potential to lose your team, specifically maybe your goalie,
who's got a long contract
for a lot of money on it, and he's a pillar for you. He's a great goaltender. You can't replace a Jake Ottinger right now.
It wouldn't have been in the conference finals if it wasn't for Jake Ottinger. Right. To be fair to Pete, he did say that.
Right, and so that's it's how you do things, and that can lose the room. It's not necessarily like one mistake and it's over. It's sort of how it's all kind of transpired. He gets wired a little tight. We're watching what we're seeing here with Chris Knobloch and Paul Maurice and how calm they are. And between games, there's no wasted energy. There's a belief that a coach can put into his team that even when it's hard, you guys will find a way, an encouragement sort of thing. And that's, I think that's probably why, but this doomed him. That post-game press conference lost him his job.
Yeah, it seems that way. Let's hear from the general manager, Jim Nill. He spoke earlier today about the reasons behind his decision.
I spoke with Pete this morning at 9 o'clock. Great conversation. He's very professional and he understands. And we have a very good relationship. But that's what makes it probably the hardest. After a year-end review, talking to players, exit interviews, medicals, everything we go through, I just think it's just time right now to make that next step.
The comments that DeBoer had at the end of season media availability and after the Game 5 loss about Jake Ottinger's performance specifically, how much did that and the potential, strain between the players and the coach play into your decision?
The events that took place, that's a component of it. But there's other things that take place also. I get no problem with the pull at all. If you're coaching, we've just let 2 goals in, you got to change momentum in that. So to change the goalie, I get no problem with that at all.
Did you have an issue with his comments after the game and even the day after?
I think everybody did. I think even Pete a little bit remorseful of it, a little bit. So I don't think he handled that the way he wanted to. But you got to remember, you're under duress, the pressure of everything going on in that. Our assistant coaches are very experienced. We got a good staff here, very experienced. So I'm not too worried. You bring an experienced guy in, great. Being inexperienced guy, I guess inexperienced term in it, he's got great support.
So interesting comments there from Jim Nill talking about the post-game presser and maybe being remorseful about that. So interesting that he would use those words. You can see here the record for Pete DeBoer. I mean, this guy has done a terrific job since coming into the league. He was a young coach with the Florida Panthers. That was his first job. He went to the Devils, took them to a Cup final.
Yep.
He's been in San Jose, took them to a Cup final. Vegas, he had a great short run there. And in the last 3 years, the Dallas Stars have been in the conference finals. So the numbers are terrific. He's the 17th, ranked 17th for wins among coaches all time. I mean, in a relatively, when you think about some of these guys have been coaching for much longer than Pete. Yeah. It's surprising. What do you think is next? You heard Jim Nill talk about, the experienced staff he's got there, and there's a look at the all-time wins leaders, and what's next? Because so many guys have been hired. Like right now, there's no jobs open. A lot of guys, have moved into other positions. It's not the ideal time to be shopping for a new coach.
Well, he probably wants to be employed. He has another year on his deal. For Pete, he should be fine.
But I'm talking about for Dallas.
Right, for Dallas now. He did mention there has been with Don Scott, with Alain Nasruddin, who I had in Jersey, who's a fantastic coach. I think
great guy.
Yeah, great guy. There are different hockey minds out there that, especially coming into this veteran team with this experience that they have, that's been very close. You just need him to put them in the right place, push the right buttons. You don't have to overcoach this group. It's a pretty well-oiled machine. So it'll be interesting. I have full faith in Jim Nill. He's proven time and time again to be a great executive, a great manager in the league, and do right by his organizations. I thought he had a great trade deadline, obviously bringing in Mikko Rantanen, and the things he's done for the Dallas Stars has proven they've been a playoff team perennially with Jim Nill as their general manager. I think that he'll figure out a way. He's a smart enough guy. And the coaching carousel, EJ. Guys get fired a lot. The
That's
longest
true.
tenured guys don't last more than 4 or 5 years.
It's amazing how they turn over in this league. But I want to talk about let's talk about Jim Nill a little bit right now. And Jim is a terrific person. I've known him going back to his time in Detroit. Heck, I watched him play in the NHL years and years ago. And I think he's done a good job putting this team together. He's made some bold moves. But I would say there is one area on this team that they really need to improve, and that's what we talked about with the Edmonton Oilers. They needed some toughness within this group, because the challenge in the regular season and the challenge in the playoffs are two different challenges. And when you're in the playoffs and you're playing a 7-game series, and again, you went to 2 Cup finals. I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but you're playing a 7-game series against an individual opponent where you got to look the guy in the eye night after night, right? Mm-hmm. Intimidation is a thing. 100%. In a 7-game series, and I don't think the Dallas Stars are near tough enough to win in the playoffs. They've got to this year they got to the conference final. How did they do it? Jake Ottinger was unbelievable for the first 2 rounds, and Mikko Rantanen went on a historic run at the end of the series against the Avs and the start of the series against the Jets.
Pretty good.
But to me, it's like watching a horse race where one horse wins, and he wins by a lot. So you finish second, but you're up the track. And right now, the Dallas Stars, to me, they're kind of up the track until they address the need for a more physical component to their team.
Fast physicality, I think, is maybe what they could be missing. Because I remember playing against a lot of these same Dallas Stars. A lot of these guys have been there a while, and a couple of defensemen, and Jamie Benn, obviously. Even Tyler Seguin plays a physical brand when he gets to the playoffs. He's not necessarily going to hurt you when he hits you, but he's in there. He is a competitive player.
But you watched that series against the Oilers.
Yeah.
Let's face it.
Edmonton's a different team this year.
That's right.
That's a different animal. They learn.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
So it can be from within. You could take this group. Jamie Benn can be an absolute maniac if he has to be.
But he's had to do that for so long.
He needs a little help.
Exactly.
And my worry about this group is that they're getting close, but they're not getting any closer. And
Yeah.
they might start falling
Great-
behind because
great
they
way to
have
say it. Yep.
some older players. That Jamie Benn had 1 goal in
Yeah.
18 playoff games.
Yeah.
And Tyler Seguin, I commend him because
Yeah.
he came back from an injury, but no 5-on-5 points for Matt Duchene. I think Wyatt Johnston's going to get better and better.
He
as
just had a bad
goes.
playoff.
Yeah, and he's
Hard
a
to
younger
explain why.
player.
Yeah.
Marchman, he got maybe a little over emotional. Maybe he's taking cues from his coach. These are lessons you have to learn.
Yeah.
You have to, when the puck drops, bring that physicality, like you said.
Yeah.
Everyone has to buy into it.
Yeah.
Maybe you add
Yeah.
a couple of big, heavy guys. And then when the whistle blows, get your rest.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the extracurriculars.
Yeah.
Just play. Don't worry if you're down in a series or you're down in a game. Those are lessons they have to take with them.
Yeah. Because
It's there. I like what they have. That
Hey,
nucleus
listen,
is great.
They have a lot of really good components, and
Yeah.
they've added Mikko Rantanen. He'll have his, he's just starting an 8-year contract
Yeah.
with the Dallas Stars, and he'll have a full, training camp to acclimate himself. I'm sure they'll do some other things in the off season, but I do think, again, that should be a job. That's the general manager's job, is to kind of fill in those missing pieces. I think they did that in Florida. They've done that in Edmonton. I think in Dallas, if they want to get to that next level, if they want to kind of get back into that horse race
Yeah.
with the lead horse, they've got to add some of those pieces.
Well, how many teams would a head coach want to coach above the Dallas Stars?
Yeah, not many, right?
That's a team that you'd want as a head coach to get into.
That's no doubt about it. I mean, this has been a really good team, and Pete DeBoer has done a really good job.
Yep.
So I'll be curious to see what happens next, because the jobs aren't open right now, as we talked
Right.
about. And would somebody look? We saw it happen in St. Louis, right?
Right.
He became
Yeah,
available.
exactly.
They made a decision, and they went out and hired Jim Montgomery right after he got let go. So I'll be curious to see if there's any teams that would do that to bring in Pete DeBoer. Although, having had these, this issue with the goaltender and some of the players, you wonder.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't think he has to wait very long.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah.
He hasn't in the past. So we'll see what happens next with the Dallas Stars. Getting back to what's going on here. Game 2 tonight, 8 o'clock Eastern Time. See the schedule. We head to Florida. We'll play in Florida on June 9th. That's Monday. That's Game 3. Play a couple games down there. And then we'll see where we go from there. But Game 1 went into overtime, went deep into overtime. It was a power play goal by Leon Draisaitl. About 30 seconds left on the clock. And you know what? The Oilers made some great plays. It was Nugent Hopkins to Perry. Perry makes that little sublime pass to
Beauty.
McDavid, and then McDavid right on schedule. And people look at McDavid's pass there, and he makes it look too easy. That was not an easy pass to make and time and to sauce it up right on schedule. And then Leon Draisaitl steps right into it and scores. But this shows you the skill of that team. 4 really nice plays.
Well, I just like the pressure and the poise that Bouchard and Nugent Hopkins showed up top, because that Florida penalty kill was giving Edmonton some problems with how aggressive they were. But what I liked, the adjustment that Edmonton made, was you see that they're sort of overloading a side. You don't see that much anymore in these power plays, but they're just taking what's given here. And yes, Corey Perry uses his backhand, but other than that, there's no stick handles. It's a backhand pass.
Quick passes.
It's a forehand sauce on his forehand that Connor McDavid doesn't handle at all. He gets it elevated over the stick. If he stick handles once, this play goes away. And then the shot, it's under the glove over the pad.
Great shot.
For me, I'd say that was a lucky shot that went in. I can't really say that for Leon. He had 50 goals this year. He could win the Hart Trophy again this year, and his skill level's ridiculous. But the poise that they showed with this all-out assault pressure that Florida does on the penalty kill, it was what was really impressive to me, especially high in the zone in overtime, because that's dangerous. They can go on the attack on offense really quickly, the Florida Panthers can, if you have a bobbled puck or they get a stick blade on it if you're not dialed in. And they were poised, dialed in, and they made 3 or 4 quick passes. That's what's going to have to be.
And how's the ice when there's 19 minutes of time played already in a period?
Or 79 during a game.
Yeah.
Not great.
Not good, right?
No, not good. That's how skilled these guys and talented these guys are. And it's Corey Perry, who was used a little bit less towards the second half of the game.
Yeah.
It looked like he wasn't out as much. There was a little bit of line juggling. There was Corey Perry goes out on the power play. That's his role. That's his job. Makes a big play happen.
Yeah, 11 points in the postseason for Corey Perry. 7 goals, 4
unbelievable.
assists, playing really well. I want to just bring up Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and all this because, he's under the radar all the time. And, listen, Leon Draisaitl is under the radar sometimes in Edmonton because you have Connor McDavid and, he is such an unbelievable player. But I always feel their power play like it's usually Hyman at the net, but now it's Perry. You know where Draisaitl is going to be. You know Bouchard's going to be up top. McDavid kind of moves all around, like he's constantly moving. And Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, his job is to read McDavid and, not to duplicate him and to be in the right spot. And also when McDavid brings the puck in on the rush with speed, everybody collapses to McDavid. McDavid kicks it out to Nugent-Hopkins, and then he has to make a quick decision as to where to go. And he is just uniquely gifted in his hockey IQ to make those plays under duress. And the play that he made to start that goal up high, he traps Jones. Jones went to him, and he just threw it down the boards. And the rest is history now. But he is such a talented guy and a really important cog. And there he is, right? He gets the puck there. He has to make a quick decision. He gets it back to Bouchard. Then he gets it again. He's got to make another decision.
Has to handle it off his feet. He knows the pressure.
There you go.
You ever have an old-fashioned, EJ?
Yes, I have.
You have the bourbon. You have the syrup.
I didn't know this was going there,
You
but
have a little
okay.
orange.
Yeah.
You got the ice.
Yeah.
Then you need a little straw to stir it
Fair
all
enough,
up. And
yeah.
he's the straw. He follows the play all over the place. He's support for everyone, not just McDavid. Mostly McDavid, because that's where the puck's going to go through. He has to be the out. So not only does he have to get open, find a little bit of ice, a little bit of space, where he might be option B or option C.
Yeah.
He's always ready. He's always facing the play. And then when a tough play comes, it goes in his feet. And that's not Bouchard's fault. He had to get it down.
Yeah.
Makes the play happen. And
Handling
it's
it.
subtle, but if you've been in that situation, the poise he showed was really impressive.
Yeah. And then you have McDavid and Draisaitl. And, they come together during the game. It's kind of, they call it the nuclear option, right?
Yeah,
He
I
starts,
like that.
Chris Knobloch, the head coach, starts them on different lines. And then as he feels the game unfolding, he'll put those guys together. And he did it quite a bit, really from midway through the second period on. And it always seems to pay dividends for him. I mean, it just seems like, these two know each other so well, but Knobloch has a really good feel for when to put them together.
Well, what's interesting is, again, you can talk about Nugent-Hopkins taking over that next line, right? That's a big responsibility for him. But Knobloch has understood maybe when is it time, and now you're right. That's a skill. That's a different talent that a former player can't really speak to in me, because I don't know when you would want to load up like that. But it empowers the other lines. Like, we know they're going to go. We have to have a shift. Let's get something done together.
Yeah.
We have to take ownership of this quote-unquote second line now. Like Evander Kane, who I thought was great.
Yeah.
Didn't get on the score sheet, but was the reason for two of the goals. Just crashed the net. There's other guys that maybe you don't have to, as soon as you get the puck, look, where's 97? Where's 29? Try to be creative. Take ownership of your new role. The next shift, you might be back with 29. Make sure you get him the puck, because you're going to have success. So there's an excitement there amongst the group. And Knobloch can do it now because there's more guys pulling the rope this year. Depth's been much better.
No question. Yeah, and like you look at the forward group for the Edmonton Oilers, 1 through 12. I think it was Frederick maybe who had the fewest minutes amongst forwards. It was him or Podkolzin, but it was about 13 and a half minutes. And that's a good meaty number for a fourth-line player when you think about particularly an Edmonton Oilers team that's pretty top-heavy with McDavid and Draisaitl. It just goes to show you that Chris Knobloch, he's been given more depth players to work with this year, and he's embraced it. And he talked about, really, we didn't even have this full team together until kind of game 2 of the first round, because there was so many different injuries.
Right.
But he's embraced these guys and had a willingness to put them out in different situations, and it's paid off.
Oh, it's been tremendous. And you're right. I mean, Matthias Ekholm's played 2 games.
Yeah.
That's a big part of their decor.
Yeah.
But their forwards, like you said, Evander Kane is a big piece. They missed him.
No question.
Year.
He in these kind of games, we just talked about it, right? Intimidation in a 7-game series is a thing. And it's not to say that people are scared and the Florida Panthers are like, shaking in their boots. But like when he's coming at you as a defenseman, you're looking to move the puck maybe a hair quicker. And
you're thinking about it.
And maybe you ice the puck.
Yep.
Or, pressure makes things happen. Podkolzin put pressure on Nosek. He flipped it over the glass. So these are the things that constant wearing, that constant physicality create mistakes on the other team, and you look to take advantage.
There's no question. And you mentioned the icing. What did Evander Kane do in his first shift?
Yeah.
He went right to Aaron Ekblad and blew him up behind the net.
Yeah.
Because Aaron Ekblad has been tremendous in these playoffs. He has been so physical, crossed the line a couple times.
Yeah.
But he's not going to apologize, neither are any of the Florida Panthers. And Edmonton's realized that, and they had to make a point of pushing back. And I think the hits were even. I think they're around 50-50 or 51-51. They were pretty close.
Yeah.
And you just haven't seen Florida get hit that much. They didn't stop hitting, but they got hit a lot. There was a lot of icings. It led to, a tough time for Paul Maurice, I'd say, to get his bench rolling how he wanted to. And that is a huge part of the game. You think it's small things, but enough of these little things are going to add up and ultimately give you a better chance to win.
No question about it. Any surprises for you? Here's a look at the ice time, 5-on-5 by line. And you can see the Florida Panthers, they only end up at the fourth line, 4:52. Now, Gadjevich got hurt and missed a bunch of time in the middle of the game. He did come back, but that does skew that a little bit. I think Paul will want to kind of move that up a little bit. And, he's going with the same lineup tonight.
Right.
A.J. Greer, we were wondering, is he going to get back into the mix? He's a big, strong forward. Still, you can see it here from Luke Fox. Greer won't play game 2. Could play in game 3 for Paul Maurice, so we'll see if that happens. But, their depth has been chewed into a little bit just because, you win the Stanley Cup, guys move on. And so they've had to replace them. And the guys they've replaced them with have been good.
Right.
But, think about it. Gadjevich, who's been a really important player for them as a back-end guy, he didn't play at all in the playoffs last year.
Right.
Because they had guys in front of them. They had the Okposos and Lorenz and guys of that nature. So it's a little bit of a different situation right now for Paul Maurice.
Yes, and you look at those numbers of the fourth line and how little they played. That's a 79-minute game. Yeah, there's some special teams in there too, so the numbers are a bit off, but it's exactly what I'm talking about. This team has been a four-line team for the better part of 3 years. That's a strength of theirs.
Yep.
But if you get hemmed in, and you have the interesting thing is they had a great second period, and usually that's when you have the long shifts, as it's a longer change. But in the first and the third, they couldn't get off the ice. The weak side winger couldn't get off the ice. The lines couldn't come out together. And then if you see Sasha Barkov sitting there for 6-7 minutes of game time because the other two lines get hemmed in, you get sorry fourth line. We got to put our top guy out there again. Yeah. So the rhythm of the game got a little skewed up. It wasn't great. Not exactly ideal for what Paul Maurice wants to do. I think it was executed well by Edmonton. Edmonton had a lot to do with that.
Yeah, no question about it. They played well. They were getting contributions from everybody. How about Kasperi Kapanen?
Ooh. Maybe. Cappy. I played with him on 2 different spots, man. He was back to being himself, and he hasn't played a lot, so it'll be interesting to see how tonight goes.
Do you remember him playing that physical?
He can, yes.
He can. We've seen that he can.
Yeah. Well, that's what buying into it. 2 or 3 physical players, like just Jamie Benn being physical in Dallas, like you were alluding to, isn't going to move the needle in the playoffs. Even one line of physicality, it's not really going to. Everybody has to buy in and just do 5-10% more. Give that little extra bump.
Yeah.
Give a little more on these hits, and it gets contagious. They all do it because if you're the only one not doing it, you're going to stick out.
And Kapanen, he said the other day, he goes, hey, listen, I thought this could be it for me in the NHL because, he's bounced around a little bit. He was waived by St. Louis. He was picked up by Edmonton. They've used him in a lot of different ways, but he did not start the playoffs in the lineup. Right. And, in fact, he did not come in to the playoffs until, in the middle of the Vegas series in the second round, and he came out flying in that series, and I think he was just motivated by the fact that, this could be it. Right. And if they lose to the LA Kings, talk about how careers change. Yeah. If they lose that first round series to the LA Kings, Kapanen never plays in the playoffs, right? He's a scratch. Who knows where he is next year?
Right.
So taking advantage.
Absolutely. And he has elite speed. He has some great hands. Finding his role has been difficult in some places. And they had enough skill in Toronto, so he was expendable. He went back to Pittsburgh. He was great at times in Pittsburgh, and then he really struggled. So when he wasn't scoring, it affected the rest of his game, and he couldn't figure out a way to be effective. He let it bother him more than he probably should have. Now he's just happy to be back. He has an opportunity to contribute, and it doesn't necessarily have to mean goals. But what he's been able to do is sort of free his mind from trying to score goals or think that's what makes him a good player, and he does all the other things. He's attention to details. And then you see his skill come out because he has that elite speed still.
He had 2 assists the other night.
He did. And he almost scored that highlight.
I know, in overtime. One more quick thing for you, because you took a lot of face-offs in your life.
Yep.
One of the things, and I'm going off script here, so JD's probably going to get mad at me, but that's nothing new. You took a lot of face-offs.
Yeah.
There was a lot of jostling in the circle the other day with the linesmen not dropping the puck and throwing guys out. So
Drop the puck.
I can see you noticed the same thing I noticed.
Oh.
Was it unusual to see it happen that often
Yeah.
in a game?
Yes, and I understand that they're heavily scrutinized by their own superiors, these linesmen, and they're trying to make it fair because the worst
Because you guys all
thing,
cheat. You all cheat.
Yeah,
But you're trying to win.
yeah,
Yeah.
and everybody is cheating. So it's up to them to decipher what's the allowable amount of cheating. And there's two linesmen.
Yeah.
So what's allowable from one isn't for the other. There was
Interesting,
They
yeah.
were very strict because, and I understand why. If somebody really cheats and gets away with it, and it's a shotgun winning draw in the offensive zone, it goes D to D and it's in the net, he's getting chewed out for that, and he might not work another playoff game. So I get that they have to make it fair, but man, it was taking a long time. Connor McDavid had to come in and take a lot of draws because Leon kept getting kicked out.
Yeah, it was very interesting to watch. It was definitely part of the story for game number 1, in which the Oilers won in overtime 4-3. We come back. JD was a winner. JD,
All right.
our producer,
I'm in.
he gave you a winner.
He did.
If you didn't take him up on it, you didn't win money, that's your problem, not ours. He's giving you another one. That's next on First Shift.
45 seconds left here in the first overtime. Here's McDavid with speed, breaking through. McDavid gets it over to Nugent Hopkins. Back to the point, Bouchard, Nugent Hopkins. He's pressured. The puck goes down the wall. They get it to McDavid towards the front, chance, and they score! It's Leon Draisaitl with the game winner in game 1! The Oilers win it!
It is time for the Top Line Parlay presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. And with that, we bring in our ace producer, JD, who is 1-0 in the Stanley Cup Final.
Nice call, Ege. You're 1-0 on these broadcasts, man. That was good, you and Weeksy, for
hot.
NHL International.
Thank you, yeah.
All righty, like you
Yeah,
said,
I love doing it. Love working with Weeksy. So let's go.
I love making the shifties a little bit of money, and we are 1-0 in the Cup Final. A small return on the last one, though, but I wanted to get on the board. We're going to go big game hunting today, though, for Game 2. Danny, get us to the big board, brother. First period, we like the Panthers puck line, so plus 0.5 there. All that means is that the Panthers can't be trailing by more than a goal. So we like them early here to keep it close at least. Hit us with the shots by period, Danny. Wasn't a great start for Florida. Feel like tonight the message is going to be they got to start on time. They're going to come out and have a good first period. So, but I mean, hey, despite the only 7 shots on net, they were up 2-1 after the first in game 1. Back to our big board here. Evan Bouchard, 3 or more shots on net. We like that. He led all players in shots on goal in game 1 with 7. Here's a look at that. So we like Bouchard to continue putting pucks on to Bobrovsky. Back to the big board here. This might be my favorite one. You guys touched on him in the first segment. Evander Kane had his fingerprints all over game 1, but didn't get on the score sheet. 9 hits in that one. Did everything except wind up on the score sheet. We like him to get an anytime goal here in game 2. I was thinking all day, I feel like this is going to be a long series, a tight series. Was looking for a reason to pick the Panthers in this one. No, we got one more bet, Danny. Head us back to Font 2 here. I couldn't get around to it. I got Oilers money line again. We're going to South Florida.
Whoa.
Wow.
With the Oilers up 2-0. Now, fellas, what do you guys think about Game 2 tonight? Give us your feel. I just can't get around to thinking that the Panthers are going to be able to win again tonight. Or win tonight.
Yeah, listen, I'm not against that, really. I mean, I do think the Oilers will win tonight if I was making a prediction on it, but I do expect it to be close. But I like that JD is getting a little bit more dialed in terms of winning more money, going for the gold a little bit there. Plus
Just-
2,100.
Hey, listen, pigs get slaughtered, though. We got to be careful. I like them. All those make sense to me. All of those bets make sense to me. I like the parlay.
The anytime goal is always the tricky one. Because,
It is.
because it's a goal, and like we had a lot of goals the other night. It was only 7.
It's hard to score goals.
And Draisaitl scored 2 of them, right? And
Right,
Bennett
right.
scored 2 of them. So,
Right.
that takes a chunk out of it.
Right,
So
so-
we'll see if he can get one from Evander Kane. But
You like Edmonton, huh?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I just think they're right now, all the arrows for me point in their direction just because Draisaitl's healthy. Kane is healthy. They're getting contributions from different places. Skinner had a really good game 1.
He did.
I mean,
Very good.
that's not Stuart Skinner's usual mojo in these series.
Well, he gave up 3 and then shut the door because it wasn't his fault. Those goals are not his fault.
In the second period, he made a bunch
Yeah,
of good
he saved them.
saves. Yeah.
Could have been 6-1.
Yeah.
It was 3-1. It could have been 6-1 for Florida. They really brought it. You can't really underestimate the champion pedigree that
course.
Florida has,
Makes
but they
sense.
looked a little tired.
A little bit.
So
And
we'll
I'm worried about Matthew Tkachuk because of he's compromised somewhat with injury. Reinhardt is similar situation.
Right.
So we'll see. Listen, this is the beauty of sports.
Yeah.
They'll come out here. You lived it, right?
Yeah,
you heard
yeah.
maybe you heard it, maybe you didn't. People chirping this guy, that guy, and then they come out and have an unbelievable game, right?
Right.
So we'll see how things play out tonight. But I know one thing. My guy JD is 1-0 right now. He's sitting pretty. We'll see if he can make it 2 in a row tonight with the top line parlay. We come back. Our buddy Dennis Bernstein's going to join us from the fourthperiod.com. You hear him on NHL Network Radio. Talk a little bit about Game 2 coming up next here on First Shift.
DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the Stanley Cup Final. And this week, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Download the app and use promo code FLY when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours.
We are ticking down to game time. Game 2, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Rogers Place. The Edmonton Oilers and the Florida Panthers. The Oilers trying to take the 2-0 series lead. Joining us now, our buddy, Dennis Bernstein. I'm just saying, I've known Dennis Bernstein going back to probably the late 90s. I think I saw you at an
Are you
All-Star
going to admit to
game in
that,
Boston.
EJ? You really want to admit to that? Okay.
Why not?
Sure.
Why
Okay.
not? Listen, experience. Can't buy it. I can tell you that. And but it's great to have you on, Dennis, with the fourthperiod.com. Also, you hear him on NHL Network Radio with our buddy Steve Coolius, among others. Coolius is upstairs yelling. We can hear him down
We
here.
can hear him, yes.
We can hear him
It's
down
like he's
here.
with us again.
But Dennis, what's your
Yeah.
how do you feel like we're getting into Game 2 here? The Oilers with a chance to go up 2-0. What's your feeling about this one tonight?
Well, it's not Game 7, but I think it's Game 6.5 for the Panthers.
Okay.
Against this team going down 2-0, this is not the Maple Leafs. Okay. The way they're playing, 13-2 in their last 15 games. This is a crucial. You want to get a split because that was the goal. Get a split, go home, and then take your chances. So I think it's a critical game for the Florida Panthers here.
Do you think just fatigue or the miles that they've put on in the last few years with all the playoff experience that they've had to go through, all the challenges they've seen? It's a lot of hockey for these guys. Is that part of the reason why you think this is such a big game, not going down 0-2 before they go home?
Yeah, and they have a team that matched their physicality, Boiler.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
one thing. And the second lowest shooting percentage forward is Sam Reinhart. I don't think he's 100%. We all know that Matthew Tkachuk isn't.
Yeah.
But I think that the physical intensity, and you don't watch the game, you don't watch the puck sometimes. You watch the battle between Ekblad and Perry and Kane in Game 1. That's a different animal that he faced other than the other rounds.
Yeah, no question about it. And, it's funny with the Oilers because I was here, for the morning skate and the media discussion. Connor McDavid was up on the podium with Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and he looks as locked in as any athlete I've ever seen. Yeah. I mean, he just looks locked in. And then Chris Knoblauch comes in after him, and he is so calm. And it's like, I'm thinking to myself, like, these two guys, McDavid and Knoblauch, they have a relationship going back to the time in Erie where Knoblauch coached McDavid as a junior. But I'm like, these two guys could almost be like older brother and younger brother.
Yeah.
They're both very similar demeanors.
On and off the ice, it's a much more calm team than it was under Jay
Yeah.
Woodcroft. When this team's down 3-1, because remember, 7 comeback victories.
Yeah.
Right? They are much calmer. At down 3-1, they would try to force things. They take pinches, and they'd be down 4-5-1. Now they stay in games, they hang around, they're patient. They were patient in Game 1. And yeah, it's a different mentality with Chris Knoblauch behind the bench.
I think they've empowered the depth as well. Obviously, we've been talking a lot about the depth, but that maybe goes into it. Even last year, though, he seemed calm.
He did,
I
really. For a
think that's
first-year guy in the Stanley
Yeah.
Cup final, I mean, that's a pretty big spot.
and I think that's important anywhere. But like, how important would that be in a Canadian market where they're so hockey crazy, and you're in a conference final and you're in a cup final? You start the first round and it's not going great, and then here they are again. They're back. How important must that be for this group in this market?
It's very important because of the intensity, because of the attraction. You see, there are people wearing jerseys. Like, you know, when the Kings play the Oilers, nobody's wearing Kings jerseys walking around the streets. Right? It's not. And I'm from LA, so I'm not disrespecting any of my friends in LA. But the intensity here, it's just a love affair with this team. And I think, boy, the difference this year, last year, the fans in the city was happy to be here.
Yeah.
This year, they expect to win. It's been very different.
Yeah, no question about that. I remember Knobloch last year, Dennis, like when they were down 3-0, he was like, well, I expect us, you know, to play. We have 4 more games. And like he was very positive. Like even to the point where those of us in the media who are very cynical would be like, okay,
cliche,
sure,
you
Chris.
are. Right.
But like he seemed like he meant it, and his team responded. So they definitely take a cue from Chris Knobloch. We got you here, so I mean, you said it. You're from LA. You cover the Kings all the time. Like, I mean, you're my go-to guy on the Kings. Whenever I need to find out what's going on, I check in with you. You know, they could be here. I mean, they had the Edmonton Oilers down and out. They won the first 2 games of the series. They had leads in Game 3, Game 4. You know, it just didn't work out for them. They've lost now 4 years in a row to the Edmonton Oilers. They make a change at general manager. Ken Holland comes in. They keep Jim Hiller as coach. I know you had a back and forth with Jim during the final. I thought you were asked a fair question, and
Thank you. I did.
You know, I thought Jim got a little bit bothered by it, but at the end of the day, you guys have made up now.
I think so. We'll find out next year.
All right. Well, so like, what do you make of the Kings moving forward? What do you expect Kenny Holland to try to do? What are the things they need to add to get over the hump to maybe beat the team that plays in the building behind us here?
Well, just from a media standpoint, I think Kenny talked more in his press conference than Rob Blake did in 8 years.
Yeah.
Right? So there's going to be more an open channel communication between the media, guys like me, and Kenny Holland. And Kenny takes big swings. This team is not far away. They need another big-time player. They need to sign Gavrikov, though. That's a big move. Like if they bring back Gavrikov, that's fine. They need to take a big swing. So Mitchell Marner, will they take a swing at them? I think they will.
Yeah.
They're not that far away because you're right. They could have beat the Oilers. Right? There's some coaching decisions, some decisions on ice that didn't work out for this team. But they're right there. They can be close, but getting over the hump, trying to beat the Oilers or anybody in the Pacific, that's the big challenge. The thing I like about Kenny the most, he's not afraid to take a big swing. That's what this team needs.
And Marner
right now.
would fit, Boiler, with the LA Kings. They have centers. Like, if for Mitch Marner to go somewhere else, I mean, I would think if you're him, like, look for a team that's a good team, like the LA Kings are, and one that has centers where he could really be a factor.
They have size. They have size as well. This is why people
Another
like
big thing.
The LA Kings. If we looked at that board that showed their winning percentage in the last 4 years, it's not that easy being out in LA. It's a bear to travel that west. And look at this. It's 48 wins, 44, 47. They have a number of guys. They did a lot of that this year without Doughty. But it brings me back to your exchange, Dennis, with Jimmy Hiller, who I played for, and he was my assistant coach in Toronto. I love Jimmy Hiller. It shows you sort of what the pressure can do at certain times. And we want to run this out here?
All right.
Want to hear it?
All right.
I want to hear
Let's
the sound.
bring it back. Let's go.
Jim, how do you change your approach in the third period to better close out games?
How do I change it? Next question, please. We're that far away on the empty net. Q chips that one out. Bouchard makes a good play. We're not even talking about this. So how about that?
Sentiment in the room was that the first 40 minutes.
That's your favorite question too, by the way. Maybe you got some ideas for me. Had plenty of opportunities to put it away and did not. So here we are. We go home 2-2 instead. Get a power play in overtime. Those are tough. Maybe I'll ask Dennis if he liked that call. We can go back and forth.
Oh, boy. And like I said, like, if I thought you didn't ask a fair question, I would just tell you. But I mean, you asked a question that everybody wanted to ask, and then he said next question, and then he continued on and on. So to me, that was not a good look for the head coach. I know you guys have talked since then. Listen, in the heat of the moment, these things happen.
Well, that's my point, and hey, you did answer it.
Yeah.
But my point is now, how does that contrast with what we're seeing with
Chris Knobloch.
Paul Maurice even,
Yeah,
and how they're handling it and letting them, the players, sort things out? You can't waste energy, especially in the playoffs. It's too hard of a season. And you see and that's a learning experience. And then you go down, you move east a little bit to Dallas, and you see sort of what kind of unraveled there. How important is that? How important is it coming from your leader, your coach, to just have that poise? Like, everything's going to be fine. We know what we're doing here.
Yeah, and in Game 5, they didn't show up.
Right.
They were non-competitive. It was a 2-1 game, but they got outshot like 42-15. So, yeah, look, Jim took advantage, I think, of the relationship. Yeah, because I have a great relationship with him.
Yeah.
So another media member he wouldn't have done that to, and he was contrite. Before Game 5, morning skate, he said, "Are we good?" And I, stared at him for 30 seconds. I go, "Yeah, we're good." So I didn't let him off the hook right away. I had a little bit of a poker face. But it's a really good team. But now with Pete DeBoer, having to look for a job now, if the Kings don't start off well, you never know.
Yeah. I mean, we had a good discussion about, you know how my feelings are in this.
Yes.
I mean, listen, to be fair to Jim Hiller, and we talked about him a lot on the show this year, I don't think he got near enough credit during the season. I think he did a really good job.
He could have been an Adams candidate.
Absolutely. He did a really good job with a team that was no doubty for the first half of the year. Really good job. But when I see what I saw in the playoffs, with just the way the team played very, very conservatively when they had leads, couldn't hold leads. I see a guy that has a little bit of a meltdown, in the media room. For me, I think I would have made a change, and I would have gone in a different direction, because I do worry that maybe he lost the team in some way, because you said it, Dennis, in Game 5, they're a no-show.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. And listen, if Jim has a great year next year, maybe turns it around, maybe they are here and they win a Stanley Cup. You never know, but it's a hard league to win, and it's hard decisions. And, Kenny Holland made the call to stay with him. We'll see where it goes.
Yep. I think that, you got to start off well, though. Right?
Yeah.
With DeBoer sitting there on the rack, this team, the expectations are going to be high, because I assume they're going to bring back Gavrikov. If it's not Marner, maybe it's a Brock Besser. This team is ready to win right now. They had him, and they let the Oilers off the hook. But look at Paul Maurice. You got outshot 17-2 in the third period. Did you not watch the Kings series?
Yeah.
This team, you don't let up against the Oilers.
No, you don't.
They can't make that mistake tonight as well.
Yeah, so be fascinating to watch as the rest of this series plays out, and certainly it'll be interesting to see what the LA Kings do at free agency day. I do think there'll be a player for Mitch Marner. We will see. But Dennis, thanks for the time, buddy.
EJ Boiler, thanks for the time. Appreciate it.
All right,
NHL
Dennis
Network.
Bernstein, fourthperiod.com, and you can hear him on NHL Network Radio as well. When we come back, our buddy Brian Boyle will take us inside the room. He's been to 2 Cup finals. What are they saying in each of those rooms? That's next on First Shift. Welcome back to Rogers Place. Getting ready for game number 2. We're going to go inside the room with our guy, Brian Boyle. And Boiler, you played in 2 Stanley Cup finals. You played in a lot of big games in your career, even back in your collegiate days at Boston College. Go Eagles. And there you go. Let's go inside the room for both these teams. What's the message in both rooms? Let's start with the Florida Panthers, because they lost game 1. They had some good moments, some bad moments. What's the message from Paul Maurice and from the leadership group there?
Yeah, every year is different. Every playoffs journey, I guess you could say, is going to have different bumps and detours along the way. I think this team's so mature that it doesn't have to necessarily be a lot of anything different than X's and O's at this point. I think how this team prepares, how they react to wins, how they react to losses, I think they're very mature in that sense. So this will be more tactical. How can we adjust here? Really X's and O's type things. And I think that's what probably Paul Maurice is doing. That's what the assistant coaches are doing. And the players are just staying positive, because there were moments in that game where it could have turned for Florida in their favor. You mentioned Stuart Skinner. He was really good at times. He was great at times.
Yeah.
So they're going to remind themselves of that. That second period, this is where we had them. How'd we get there? And then, you want to go into the Edmonton room. I think they learned a little bit last year as well. This is a different animal. We can't get too excited being up 1-0. We were down 3. We won 3 in a row last year. So many different things can happen. You have to remain ultra focused without psyching yourself out. You still have to have that swagger. That's a fine line. But I think this team's mature as well. So this is razor thin margins.
Yeah, and the Florida Panthers, John Cooper talked about it after the Panthers eliminated the Lightning earlier in the playoffs, he said, they know how to do it now.
Right.
They've won. They've been to this their third final. I think it will be, like you say, adjustments. He's not making any lineup changes, Paul Maurice,
Right.
and I think in an earlier part of his career, in a different situation, he might have scrambled that lineup. But I think he's got faith in his guys. And on the flip side, I can only say this, watching Connor McDavid this morning at his press availability, I have never seen a professional athlete so dialed in, ever, sitting at a podium, just like he looked like he wanted to play right now. So I think it's going to, we're looking forward to another battle tonight where a mistake, a puck over glass, leads to a penalty. A little over-aggressive penalty killing leads to a goal. It's going to be that kind of game. A mistake here or there will be the difference.
Absolutely, and that's. I mean, if I was Connor McDavid and I was that good at hockey, I'd want to play right now too.
There you go.
I mean, it's just who's going to stop you. That's the mentality he has. Physical players, emotional players, they need to understand they got to get to a certain line and they cannot cross it. You don't want to take unnecessary penalties. Discipline's huge, but that emotion you bring and physicality you bring is huge. It's just have to be focused. You have to really remind yourself of your strengths as an individual player, talk to your line mates, and then be ready for whatever is thrown at you with poise. Water off a duck's back, on to the next play. Good, bad, or indifferent.
All right. We have already committed here. I like the Oilers tonight. I essentially like the Panthers.
It's hard to.
You're right. They're the champs.
It's really hard to count them out. I think in this building, Edmonton knows how important going up 2-0 is. Yeah. So I'm gonna go with Edmonton. I'm with you.
All right. I won you over.
I
won you over.
I was on the fence. You got me.
Well, listen, this is a series to be on the fence.
Oh, yeah.
It's two great teams meeting for the second year in a row. We had a deep overtime in Game 1. Looking forward to more really, really good hockey tonight, Game 2. 8 o'clock Eastern Time, TNT in the States, Sportsnet in Canada. NHL Now will be coming up next. We got you covered all the way to puck drop. Stay with us right here on the NHL Network. We'll see you before Game 3.